Okay, so today we are going to do two spells. One legal spell for a friend, one curse for a customer, and one channeling for patrons. But before we do any of that, I have to fundamentally discuss something I hate, which is why do I hate modern paganism? Ladies and gentlemen, why do I hate it? Because modern paganism doesn't understand ancient paganism. It doesn't understand ancient witchcraft. It doesn't understand what ancient witchcraft was all about. Uh, so I want to discuss ancient paganism and ancient witchcraft because witchcraft and religion, contrary to the popular belief, were always separate things. And since both of those professions deal with the metaphysical in one way or the other, with invisible, with unseen, in one way or the other, it usually was intertwined, but there was always fundamental difference. Religion was always popular. Religion was based on belief. Religion was based on social structures. And it was something which masses have practiced. Religion never focused, pagan or Christian religion, never focused on personal experience. It always focused on forms, social structures, and norms. It was always based on belief and indoctrination. Pagan religion was in many ways similar to Christian religion because it had socially imposed, formalized approach to metaphysical. And so basically, Roman religion, because that is a pagan religion we have the most sources on, and Egyptian religion, which is a pagan religion we have the most sources on, also had public ceremonies and rituals in which masses participated. It was heavily formalized. It was heavily ritualized. In many of its forms, it was designed to support the reign of kings. Many of its forms supported social order. And so within the Egyptian religion, it was always specified that Egyptian priests practiced a form of magic. So there was a separation between magic and religion. And there was a fundamental difference between magic and religion. Even in Egypt, even in Greece. And the difference was really clear. Okay? The goal of a magician is to conduct a particular ritual to affect certain change in the world, to create certain change in the world. And in order to create that certain change in the world, he is conjuring and directly consorting, communicating with certain forces, with certain invisible to humanize energies. But he in ritual, magician in ritual, experiences them as visible. He has personal knowledge of them, an understanding of them, an experience of them. And he is engaging in that experience in order to obtain certain result. And by default, magic is not based on belief. It is not based on will. It is not based on intent. It is based on knowing how to and when to trigger certain experience with spirits in order to affect change in reality. And so magic is not based on belief. Magic doesn't require faith. Magic doesn't require any kind of indoctrination. What magic really requires is technology. It requires proper states of mind, proper protocols, proper understanding of what you are doing. It requires knowledge to reach certain states of mind and converse with spirits to create a particular change. That is really what magic is. And in that regard, despite many fraudulent claims, early Christian definition of magic seems to be correct in that it clearly states that magic is a ritual in which magician experiences spirits for the sake of altering reality. The only thing I would disagree with Christian authors of early Christianity is that Christian authors see it as evil. They see it as morally dubious, they see it as morally wrong. But I agree with the Christian definition of magic. Also, a lot of people would say, a lot of magic doesn't involve spirits. It doesn't revolve around spirits. I tend to disagree. I really tend to disagree. Even if you don't directly work with spirits, you work with your energy and with understanding of how it works. And knowledge of that can come only from spirits. It cannot come from you. Because you don't see your own energy. You don't see your own soul. You are born in physical body, which prevents you from seeing that. So unless you are taught to say that by someone, spirit or human, doesn't matter, how will you work with that consciously? And so, even if you do not work with spirits directly, everything you work with was given to humans by spirits at certain point in time. Even if you don't involve with spirits directly. And there is also like a thing, right? In our occult community to deny the obvious, right? So somebody would say, I am basically, doing divination. I am not working with any spirits. When you are doing divination, you are fundamentally receiving information, you are receiving thoughts. Intelligent information and thoughts can come only from an intelligent creature. Unintelligent thing cannot produce a thought which your brain can receive. So the information you are receiving in a divination session come from certain spiritual intelligence. I doubt it comes from the source directly. I doubt you are the prophet. I have severe doubts. Really severe doubts. And so all magic works with spirits and spiritual energy, in one way or the other. There is no such a thing as magic without spirits. Even if you are doing a candle magic. Even if you are not summoning anything, you are just channeling your own energy per se. Who's gonna tell you how that energy moves? Who's gonna tell you how to put the ingredients? Who's gonna tell you how to put certain planetary alignments? Let's say that the human is giving you the information. So I have a question. From who is that information originally coming from? It's not logical for that information to come from a human, because human doesn't see any of a spiritual energy. We are blind to it at birth. We live in a physical body which mostly operates on a vibration, which cannot see spiritual energy at all. In order to see spiritual energy, we have to enter scientifically verified state of mind, of theta state, which is from 4 to 8 hertz, which is a state majority of people cannot reach when they are in waking consciousness. So basically, majority of the information we have around spiritual energy and spirituality cannot come from humans. And it doesn't come from humans, Authors of the old grimoires are pretty clear that the information of the grimoires themselves comes from spirits. Ancients were pretty clear about it. So in magic, you are either working with spirits themselves or you are working with information which is coming from spirits themselves. So all of that is spirit work. And I explained the definition of magic. And also in first Christian's view, because I 100% agree with the definition, I just don't agree that it is evil. Okay. So why do I hate modern paganism? First, it mixes religion and magic. Absolutely. Right. It mixes the two. It teaches that you somehow have to revere or worship in a self-degrading, humiliating sense the spirits you're working with. That is wrong. That is counterproductive. It doesn't make sense, right? It's not true. Actually, the only measure of success in magical work is understanding of magical protocols. That is the only thing which gives result. It's not connected to will, it's not connected to intent, it's not connected to any of that. And the protocols have not only to be known, but they also have to be understood. Only when you understand the protocols, you can execute them properly. If you do not understand them, then it's harder. Imagine driving a car without knowing anything about oil or wheels or any of the car parts or how the controller of the car works. It's difficult. You have to have some basics in how car functions in order to drive a car. In the same way, you have to have some basics in order how magic functions in order to do it. And since I adopted this improved approach to magic, my results are much better. Now, I am not a miraculous magic worker by any stretch of imagination. I am studying this just like you, the viewer of this video, are studying this. So let's explain first and foremost that magic is conceived of 3 parts. The first part is having the correct tools for the spell. The second part is knowing how to reach the trance state. And the third part is knowing how to, in the trance state, execute the protocol so you can have a materialization. Obviously, what needs to be understood is that magic moves energy. So that energy is not unlimited will of God. There are certain limitations to how energy moves, right? You can't ask for sea to open or for somebody who hates you to fall in love with you. Theoretically, you can do that, but it would demand a lot of energy and a lot of understanding of what you are doing. Okay. And the modern paganism is basically just, everything is valid, will intent, happy, let's venerate gods. And the thing is, there is a pretty significant difference between Hindu magic and Hindu religion, because Hindu religion is all about, as I said, executing the socially valid protocols and venerating the gods. It's more about social structures and caste system and um, venerating the social construct than it is really about connecting with the spirits. Obviously, the Hindu religion has within itself really powerful protocols on connecting with what they consider to be Hindu gods. Um, but I do not subscribe to any of the Hindu notions of Hindu religion. Hindu magic tradition, on the other hand, there is pretty liberal regarding uh, how you engage the deities, how you engage the spirits. Some say you have to venerate them as gods. Some say you have to treat them like family members. Some say that they are just aspects of the Brahman, aka they are not real. They are just aspects of one supreme consciousness. There are many different observations of those consciousnesses in tantric lore. I personally, I am of the opinion, uh, of which are many tantrics I listen to and many tantrics I read, uh, and also it aligns with my personal experience that once you summon a certain Hindu entity and you work with them on a personal level, it kind of stops being a relationship between one who submits and one who is asking for submission, and it starts being mutually beneficial relationship of two partners who care about each other. Uh, if you wanna go into that dynamic, if you want me to give an allegory of that dynamic, it would be like you meeting a really powerful female CEO. Let's say CEO is Kali in this case, and in the beginning that CEO is like treating you as an employee, but over time you befriend the CEO and the CEO starts treating you as a family instead of an employee, and you basically more you do the bigger your payback is, and massively through being in a company of a CEO you acquire certain knowledge and abilities and skills. uh, so basically magic in the ancient world was kind of connected into two different types of spirits engagement. One type of spirit engagement was between a magician and a really powerful spiritual entity. That engagement was always agreement based. So you would summon a really powerful being, and then you kind of negotiate with the being the terms of your operation, the terms of your magical success, and you give your request, and then you execute a certain ritual which represents a manifestation of that request. So there are many instances, for example, in the Greek magical papyri. You have an ode to Hermes, a call to Hermes, and then certain ritual implements are mixed and then used, and then it results in a manifestation of certain thing. So certain words are recited to present the spirit, and once you're sure the spirit is present, you execute certain ritual protocols and done. The work with powerful entities was usually done in this way. There are rare examples of powerful entities being bossed around, like what you consider Greek gods to be bossed around or something. But it was a rare occasion. It was a rare occurrence. Uh, Most of the time when binding was done, the binding procedure was done, right? It was done on lower familiar spirits, which were known as the daimons or demons in Greek literature. So, definition of daimon or demon was fundamentally a definition of a lower spirit who can be bound through certain rituals to do your will. Okay? Basically, That is the difference. And there is like a lot of Solomonic magicians trying to bind kings today, which is ridiculous. You don't bind kings. It's almost impossible to bind kings. It's gonna kill your life. The kings are not designed for you to bind them. The kings are given there so you can bind familiars and servants under them into the brass vessel. Like trying to bind Ashmedai is trying to bind Joe Biden, dude. How far are you gonna go with that? Binding is meant for lower familiar spirits under command of a certain being. And that's why the sigils were given. Because you were supposed to go through the entire hierarchy. First, you call God, then you call the angels, then you call the king. That's why the sigil of king was given. And then you call a familiar spirit who you gonna actually bind to do what you want to do. Right? You go through the entire chain. That's why the thing was given. But obviously, people don't study history. People don't understand the context. People, talk all kinds of shit. I even heard that, some guys, because they are inspired by the voodoo and Santeria, African type of thing, they claim to be ceremonial magicians. Yes, yet they venerate demons as gods. Basically, I don't know, give them stuff all the time, just for the sake of them existing, things like that. You know, while that really isn't something that ceremonial magicians of the past engaged in, the entire religious way of thinking has always been kind of opposed to magic. I explained why. Because the religion itself, it tends to have certain spiritual technologies, but it really isn't about spiritual experience. It's more about social institutions, reverence of tradition, believing in things, not really experiencing them. Because when you believe in things, right, you stop believing once you experience and you start knowing. Everything which is based on believing is not based on experience. It's based on certain rational conception which you believe in without evidence. And then sometimes that belief is validated, sometimes that belief isn't validated, depending on the circumstance, depending on a multitude of factors. Okay. Now, I think I explained why I hate paganism and why I hate modern approach to magic in general, and why I will need a lot of long videos to kind of explain my positions and stuff, which you will get on this channel pretty soon. Okay, so I am doing the first ritual to curse a certain individual with the demonic king Zagan. Curse I'm gonna channel Zagan now. Alchemy. Transformation of one piece of gold into the other is real. One piece of metal into the other is real. For that to be achieved, the understanding of the universe will have to reach greater point. The knowledge of magic is the knowledge of understanding how natural world works. One who wishes to understand magic wishes to understand the natural world. He wishes to know the wisdom which is considered as profane. But understanding of that quote unquote mundane wisdom of how the world works is fundamental to how magic works. Magic is not separate from education. Go through the list of my brethren. What do they teach? They teach rhetoric. They teach logic. They teach reason. They teach mathematics. They teach astronomy. They teach astrology. They teach minerals. They teach exegesis, logical analysis, complex reasoning, deduction of meaning. All of those things combined with trance and sorcerer's ritual give understanding of mechanics of magic in one way or the other. All of them have to be pursued. If you wish to be wise, you need to be willing to learn. You need to be willing to study. And that is not the study of one sudden insight. It is a study of thousands and thousands of hours from different sciences, different angles, different means of understanding. Illumination doesn't come in a moment. It doesn't come from a mystical flash. It comes from years of chanting, sorcery, study of all kinds. Read, repeat, read, and repeat again. If you wish to call me in this regard, you need gray or white candle. You need to be in clean mental state, without distractions, in a calm, comfortable space. In the circle around which my name is written. In the black robe, tied with gray ropes. Lit a candle and look into it until you gaze into it with a dreamy gaze, in a state of complete relaxation. Then stand in front of my sigil, which you have drawn, but it is recommended for the sigil to be made with a mixture of silver and tin for this specific ritual. silver and tin, if you wish to make it for this. Gaze into the sigil. If the sigil is drawn on paper, let it be drawn carefully. Gaze into the sigil with attention. After a while, you will feel energy coming from the sigil. And then you shall repeat this. By the power of Adonai, El Shaddai, El Elyon, Elohim, I call you demonic prince Zagan, the ruler of spirits, to assist me in request. Then you put your request. I can assist in any request regarding social standing and favor, and well as study. Okay. This made me really tired, guys. So I will execute one more ritual for my friend. Let's call the friend Al. She is a female. I call you Belial by the power of Baram Melgadam Doran Madar Manyalan Gabar Chal Margadi Dragadi Margalan Rashkat I call you Belial to fulfill request of El, to help her in her legal problem with her grandmother regarding the inheritance. Okay, okay. So Belial is commenting that for the success of her legal case, he has to be called daily. Okay. The additional sigil of Zagan I will channel again regarding Belial and his work. It's kind of making me really tired right now. And talk to you soon, guys.